How's it going guys, Kris here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out two weapons in Modern Warfare and seeing how they stack up next to each other, comparing a lot of their key factors and seeing how one might be better than the other in a certain way. We're going to be taking a look at the MP5 and the AUG this time around, two fairly fast firing submachine guns that are both generally best used within close to medium ranges, along with some pretty aggressive tactics. They might perform in a similar sort of way and cater to the same kind of playstyles, but there are quite a few subtle differences to separate them statistically, giving them slight advantages and disadvantages in specific situations and gunfights. With the following tests, this will give you a better understanding on how the guns are going to perform in comparison to each other, making it a bit clearer on how you can swap around attachments to enhance a gun's strengths or counteract its weaknesses, and how one might suit your playstyle a little bit better. So let's kick this comparison off with bullet damage first. Here's how many shots it's going to take for the MP5 and the AUG to kill with that standard 9mm ammunition. As we can see from the test, it's going to take 3 shots for both guns to kill at point blank range, giving them both a pretty decent power output up close. It's going to take up to 6 shots for them both to kill at long range as well, allowing the two guns to take down players in the same number of bullets. But things are a little bit different if we throw headshots into the mix. The last test shows us that the AUG deals a higher amount of headshot damage than the MP5, allowing it to kill in 1 less bullet up close. The MP5 takes the same number of headshots to kill as body shots, so although putting a bullet in the other guy's face is going to ramp up the damage, it's usually not really going to affect kill times within closer proximities, unless your target's already been weakened by something else first. Unlike the AUG, which will benefit a bit more from headshots in CQC, potentially making it the deadlier option in some cases. With that said, both guns take up to 4 headshots to kill over further distances, so they'll pretty much be on par with each other in long range fights. The MP5 has a slightly faster fire rate than the AUG, so this will give it a slight edge regarding kill times. Though of course, all these tests are only really relevant if you're using the guns with those standard magazines, because both guns do have access to alternate ammo choices, which are going to change some of the stats a little bit, given the weapon's new pros and cons. If we equip the MP5 with 10mm rounds, this will boost the damage and give it a better range, allowing it to kill in 1 less bullet against players in the distance, with it now taking up to 5 shots instead of 6, 1 less than the AUG. With that said, this only applies to body shots, as headshots and leg shots won't benefit from that slightly stronger ammo. Not to mention that it's not going to be any more effective within shorter sightlines than the standard 9mm rounds either. So don't be fooled into thinking that the 10mm ammo is going to be a lot deadlier than normal. The AUG on the other hand also has access to a different ammo type in the form of the 5.56 NATO round, housed within 30 or 60 round magazines. As you can see here in this test, these supposedly stronger bullets are going to kill in 3 to 6 bullets, which, strangely enough, is exactly the same as the standard ammo. Even weirder is that when we take headshots into account, the 5.56 round is actually weaker, taking between 3 to 5 bullets to put the other guy down on the floor, potentially 1 more shot than normal. Considering this ammo is said to be more powerful, these are some pretty funky results, especially as this ammo type lowers fire rate too, reducing kill times even further. Though it's key to know that, although it might seem to kill in the same number of body shots, along with it taking more headshots to drop another player, the 5.56 rounds massively boost the AUG's range by extending its damage drop off, basically letting it kill in less shots over distance, by making it more powerful over medium distances instead. 5.56 ammo is also going to deal more damage to your opponent's legs too, meaning you won't have to be quite as accurate to deal more damage. Because the AUG's 5.56 rounds help its performance over range, it means that you won't necessarily need to equip barrel attachments to further boost damage over distance, opening up more attachment choices to benefit the AUG in other ways. This also means that the MP5 will probably benefit a tad more from having barrel extenders in comparison, to boost its ranged performance. Though because both guns are designed to be used within CQC, it's not the end of the world if you choose to run either of the two without barrel extenders, in combination with the standard 9mm ammo, as it will still allow the guns to excel within close quarters, fine enough. If you're playing Warzone, and your opponent's got their armor maxed out to 250 health, then you can obviously expect both weapons to take more shots to kill. Though interestingly enough, although they're both going to perform similarly in close quarters, the AUG will actually be able to take people down in less shots over range than the MP5, unless it's got the 10mm rounds equipped, which actually give the MP5 a bit of an advantage against players far away. The 5.56 rounds are a bit stronger than standard, giving the AUG more power across close to mid ranges than normal, but they also make the gun fire slower too, so this is going to impact kill times, putting both weapons on a similar level as a result. If we take a look at the recoil patterns for both guns, by emptying the MP5's magazine without adjusting its line of fire, we can see straight away that the gun's going to naturally kick upwards and slightly drift to the right, with bullets deviating around quite a bit due to that horizontal recoil forcing bullets to zigzag along its path. The first shot's going to go exactly where you're aiming, but from there it's going to become harder to control the longer you fire. Switching over to the AUG, we can see that this gun also follows a pretty similar pattern, kicking upwards and drifting slightly to the right as well, but it's generally got a tighter set of bullet groupings, with its shots being less spread out. The AUG's pattern also seems to drift higher too, and if we relate this to the number of shots actually being fired out, it shows us that although both guns have similar recoil patterns, kicking vertically and going to the right, the MP5 is often going to be a bit more stable, drifting upwards a bit less, whereas the AUG will be slightly more accurate, with its shots being more focused along a set path, less spread out horizontally. Because the MP5 might be more prone to missing shots due to that higher horizontal recoil, this will often make it trickier to land shots precisely over longer ranges, limiting its effectiveness and making it more ideal for close quarter fights instead, where accuracy won't be quite as important. It'll be easier to control, with it kicking upwards a tad less, so you can pull that trigger down and blast out longer streams of shots without losing stability, once again promoting more aggressive styles of play by spraying your opponents with lead in CQC. The AUG will often seem to perform better beyond close range, generally having a higher degree of accuracy, though you might need to burst your shots in smaller groupings to keep it stable. This can sometimes make the AUG more useful on maps with longer sightlines and a Warzone, which also has a lot of long open sightlines. And so if you want to equip some mid-range optics, the AUG might seem to be better suited for them, to help with target acquisition. If you want to try and counter either of the gun's weaknesses, then it might be better to prioritise attachments to boost control with the AUG, picking underbarrel grips, extended barrels and the compensator muzzle attachment to try and combat some of that upwards kick, allowing you to fire in longer bursts before losing stability. Whereas the MP5 on the other hand will probably benefit from attachments that boost accuracy instead, like the muzzle brake, operator foregrip or rubberized grip tape, which are going to help to lower that horizontal spread and make the gun a tad easier to aim with. Okay, so next we're going to do a few mobility tests to see which gun's more agile and reliable. Starting off with a little aim down sights comparison, we can see that at normal speed, both the MP5 and AUG are going to seem pretty similar straight off the bat. Slowing things down reveals that the AUG is just a teeny bit slower than the MP5, but barely enough to make a noticeable difference while playing. And this becomes even clearer if we slow things down even more, with the MP5 being ready just a couple of frames before the AUG when aiming down sights. There is a very marginal difference, with the MP5 being able to get down sights a tad quicker, but it's not going to be enough to give it much of an edge over the AUG in most cases, as you probably won't even notice. Of course, certain attachments are going to help and hinder both guns' ADS speeds, perhaps giving one gun a more noticeable upper hand. Adding optics is going to slow them down, so if you want the superior speeds, it can often be best to try and get used to the iron sights. And because neither of the guns have particularly bad sight pictures, This can go quite well in CQC, where the weapons are designed to excel. Moving over to the magazines, at standard, the MP5 is going to have a slight edge over the AUG regarding ammo capacity, with it holding 5 rounds more at 30 bullets. The AUG has 25 shots, but a slower, slightly more manageable fire rate to compensate. But statistically speaking, the MP5 still has the potential to take care of an extra player per mag, having more bullets available at any given time. That's until we jump into Gunsmith and start playing around with the different magazine options though, with both weapons having access to extended mags and different ammo types. The AUG can use a slightly larger extended mag, holding 32 rounds of standard 9mm ammo, giving it a little bit more than the base MP5. But the MP5 can trump this, having access to even bigger 45 round mags, which also hold the 9mm ammunition too, giving you 13 shots more. The MP5 can also use that higher caliber 10mm auto round, giving it the same number of shots as normal but packing more of a punch, often requiring less of them to take down other players, which generally makes them a bit more efficient. Though the AUG also has an alternate ammo type too, using either 30 or 60 round mags with 5.56 ammo, both holding more than the standard 25 round mags. These different types have their own pros and cons, buffing range, but lowering fire rate and restricting mobility, so they'll probably make the AUG feel a bit more dependable, allowing it to deal with more enemies in awkward situations. Though if you prefer to use either of the standard models of the MP5 or the AUG without any extended or alternate magazine options, I'd highly recommend slapping sleight of hand on there, as you'll be running out of ammo quite a lot in between gunfights. If we check out the reload times for both guns with no attachments, we can see that the AUG might have a few less bullets, but it's got a quicker tactical reload than the MP5, when you reload with rounds left over. This might be a good thing if you have a bit of a habit of reloading after every kill, as you'll be able to get back into the action quicker to take on your next opponent. With that said, this is reversed for empty reloads, as if we look at this test, firing the last bullet, the MP5 will actually be ready first, giving it a slightly faster empty reload speed. With the AUG holding less bullets, this can potentially pose a bit more of a problem for it, as you'll likely find yourself running out of available bullets more often. So either way, the sleight of hand perk will probably come in handy for both weapons, the MP5 more so for swapping over those mags with shots left over, and the AUG for when you need to fully replenish your ammo count from empty. The alternate mag choices for both weapons don't seem to change reload times very much, maybe by a narrow margin, but not enough to really make a big impact on general play, in comparison to those standard magazines, having fairly similar speeds overall. So that's pretty much it for this one folks. Hope the video helped you out and showed you the differences and similarities between the MP5 and the AUG. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more content on Modern Warfare and other games coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in that next episode.